We are back with State Comptroller Tom DiNapoli. So I guess the next question would be, what will your next term, if you win, be? How will that be different from the present term?
Yeah, I think what's different, the times are different. I think the change relationship between the states and Washington is having an impact on us, particularly in New York. So you look at one of the big programs that's been growing significantly in spending, and that's healthcare, the Medicaid program. We're facing significant cuts coming out of Washington. So I want to make sure the money that we do have, we're spending as smartly as possible. You know, we do a lot of audits on Medicaid, and we often find sometimes fraud, there's no doubt about that, but what we more typically find is inefficiency and waste. So doing more of those high impact audits, whether it's on the Medicaid program, MTA, you know, they're in better shape than they've been, but they're not done yet. They're not out of the woods totally. So I think helping the state and all of our localities navigate the change relationship with Washington, the reduced amount of support we're getting, that's going to be an important part of the job.
So what do you think the biggest financial challenge facing the state is right now?
You know, look, the state benefits from a very strong economy. The state benefits from Wall Street being here. You know, the taxes that come from financial services account for about 20% of the revenue that pays for all the other programs that we support in New York. So keeping the strong business activity, keeping the finance sector here, which relates not just to taxes, but also to quality of life and you know, the overall climate. Any way that we could help contribute to that is certainly something that I think would be important for me to do. And with our pension fund, we've already done significant investments within our state to promote business activity and growth. If we could do more there, especially for small businesses, I think that could help us navigate through our challenging times.
So do you agree with the governor that we should have a moratorium on AI data centers?
Well, I mean, look, let me say this, you know, and again, I'm always very mindful of, you know, being controller. I'm not the policy, you know, person. I think there's been a lot of appropriate concern about data centers in terms of impact on energy costs, yes, and what does it mean for the community, water usage. So I think as you know, the legislature passed a moratorium, and then the governor put in her own version. I think what she's saying is, let's step back for a bit. You know, some of our friends in labor are not happy about it because they see an opportunity for jobs. So at the end of the day, we have to balance all of this. Look, we because of our investments, we're in a lot of AI companies that are involved with data centers. And we reached out as an investor and said, when you're doing a data center, you need to have a community first policy so that you are working with the local community. You're not disrupting the utility costs. You're not compromising the water supply. So I do think data centers are not going away, and we shouldn't be naive about it.
You know, but the other question,
but what's the right way to balance it?
But the other question I would have for you, since you are the steward of the pension funds, you know, there seems to be some concern on Wall Street now about an AI bubble. And the question is that a good investment for the pension funds at this point in time?
I would say at this point, we certainly view that as the future. So we want to be part of that future. There's been a lot of talk about a bubble in general on Wall Street. You're absolutely right, particularly on the AI side. But for now, that bubble hasn't burst. So, you know, nobody has a crystal ball as to where it's headed. The one thing for sure is that AI is rapidly becoming a part of our daily lives. So I think the reality of the data centers is here. How we manage that more effectively is what the challenge is.
So you mentioned out-migration.
Yeah.
How much of a concern is it for New York that people are looking at our tax policies and saying, I've had enough?
Look, we don't want to lose anybody, right? When our population goes down, it hurts our, you know how many...
And we lose congressional seats.
I was about to say, you know how diminished our congressional delegation is. Taxpayer migration a little different than population migration, but because the vast, you know, the biggest part of our tax revenue is personal income tax, we don't want to lose any folks. So, you know, we just did an update on part year taxpayers, and we found a net loss of about 13,000. So, you know, we had a real peak of taxpayer migration when COVID happened. A lot of folks decamped elsewhere.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's changed now. So the numbers are smaller. We need to be mindful that we don't want to lose anybody. But again, people make decisions to move partially on taxes. They make decisions on quality of life, weather, other decisions that are important as well.
So You've been in office, as we've said, 19 years. There was a recent Siena poll where 65% of the people said they didn't know who you were. So I'll ask you, what do you want voters to know about you, Tom DiNapoli?
Well, the good thing, Marcia, we just went through a primary and I got 66% of the vote. So when people go to vote, they do know who I am. And we actually got more votes. We led the ticket the past couple of races. So look, the controller's job is not the front page of the papers, but it's fundamental to the functioning of New York government. I want people to know that I've been diligent, I've been hardworking, I've been a person of integrity in managing the people's money, and that especially in turbulent times, you don't want to take a gamble with somebody untested for this position.
Okay, so complete this sentence. I have a secret passion for...
A secret passion for... Well, it's not a secret. My passion is for politics. Do I have a secret passion? You know, I've been so much into the government service for so long. People ask me what my hobby is.
Do you have a hobby?
I really don't. I like to, and I don't make enough time for it. I like to read, and I've got so many biographies.
Me too.
Somebody just gave me a biography of Martin Van Buren, who's, you know, we're in Albany a lot, as you know, and his home was right there in Kinderhook.
Yes, I've been.
And you know, I love the New York legendary political figures of the past. So I've got to, before the summer ends, I've got to crack open that Martin Van Buren biography.
So I guess if I asked you, have you ever sung karaoke, you would say no?
You know, they once had me do a karaoke fundraiser, and I was the single worst participant in the karaoke fundraiser.
What did you sing?
I don't even remember. It was a disaster, whatever it was.
Have you ever ridden a roller coaster?
Oh Lord, when I was a kid, I'm sure I did, but I'm not big on heights, so
Not
lately.
So you never parachuted out of an airplane either?
I never will.
Neither will I. What's your favorite vacation spot?
You know, there's so much to do in New York. I would say of U.S. cities that I visited that I liked the most was New Orleans. I love the food scene.
Yeah,
I love
wonderful.
the energy,
Yeah.
the European feel. I haven't been there in many years. I would like to go back to New Orleans. Yeah.
So last question. What does a day off look like for you?
Oh, Lord, I don't remember a real day off this year. Politically, there are not many of them. You know, usually it's boring stuff, catching up on paperwork at home. Every now and then I got to do the wash, and that's on, you know, maybe not a full day off, but at least on a half day off. And for me, the simple pleasures are, you know, dinner with friends, or, you know, if I go out and visit my brother and his family out on the East End, simple stuff. I'm not that fancy a person. I never was. I like going to the movies. But, you know, since COVID, where I am on Long Island, most of the theaters are closed and everybody does streaming. And so I like sitting in a movie theater with too much popcorn. I miss that. And that I would like to do on a day off again.
Well, I give you permission to do that.
Thank you.
And on that note, thank you for joining me. And thank you, Tom, for joining us as well.